This is Molé Mama. Take a journey with me to my kitchen where I recreate some of my sweet Mama Rosa's best Mexican family recipes. I'll share the stories behind my grandma's magical molcajete, guacamole, crunchy tacos, mole, papas and chorizo chimichangas, Kahlua cake, crack cake, and oh, so much more. You'll also get to meet guest chefs as they share the stories behind their yummy recipes. I believe that food is the sixth language of love. And if you're like me, it's your love that makes your food magical. Tune into Molé Mama on Thursdays at 6 p.m. for all the fun and love. You might want to eat first, because this show is going to make you oh so hungry. Que Dios te bendiga, as my mom would say. May God bless you. Hola, and welcome to Molé Mama Cooking with Love. We drive connection, unity, acceptance, and love across all cultures and generations. So just to be clear, we are so excited and you're so welcome to be here with us tonight. For Mother Teresa, spread love everywhere you go and let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. We usually leave you a little bit hungrier, especially given what we're going to be talking about tonight. Please check out our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Leave us a review and please subscribe. Once again, welcome to Molé Mama Cooking with Love. We celebrate home chefs, entrepreneurs, side hustlers like my mama and my beautiful Tia Hoovy. We talk about heritage and family recipes and traditional tools like my grandma's magical molcajete. And the secret ingredient to every great recipe is our love. So always make sure you add extra. I want to welcome our returning listeners and our new listeners. And please check out our YouTube channel, our Molé Mama recipes, so you can learn how to make guacamole, crunchy tacos, enchiladas, Spanish rice, mole rojo, chimichangas, and so much more. Tag us, Molé Mama, on Instagram and Facebook. And if you have any questions, please reach out. We'd love to help you make those recipes successful. So I am so excited. I have my co-host is back with me tonight. It's the first time we've ever done this remotely. We're usually sitting side by side at my kitchen table in my studio. But she's not here tonight, but that's okay. We could do this. So I want to first of all welcome my beautiful prima, Eva Zermeño. Hola, prima. How are you?
I am good. I miss you, but technology keeps us together.
Yes, it does. And I know that we started a little late tonight, and I know that we were waiting for you to find tequila or something like that. That's what I heard anyway. So.
A little bit of water right now, maybe tequila in a while.
Sure.
I need to have you in front of me to have the tequila, right?
Yeah. Okay, so tonight we are going to be talking about Our Lady of Guadalupe and festivities around her day. Feast day was yesterday, December 12th, so we know we're a day late, which is also kind of a Latin thing. But we still wanted to talk about her because she's so special to our culture. And there's a huge reason for us to celebrate and have amazing food. So it's another opportunity for us to talk about amazing food. Celebrate La Virgencita. So it's fantastic, right, Prima?
That's right. Always food. Anything.
Anything. So I thought how we could start tonight's conversation for our listeners is to first just give you a high level of what the feast day is, just in case you're not familiar with it. So, Eva, do you want to share with everyone, as I know we're going to have another special guest later, is going to go into more detail, but just from a very kind of introductory level, a little bit about her and why we celebrate.
From my experience is La Virgen de Guadalupe, we always also call her Queen, La Reina de Mexico, or the Queen of Mexico. So the story that I always heard growing up was in Mexico City. Juan Diego was an indigenous humble man that was crossing the Tepeyac Hill. It's a little hill there in Mexico City where the Aztec Empire, nearby where the Aztec Empire was. And I believe it was that he had someone ill in his family, and he would quickly, and if anyone knows the story or a different version, by all means, right? Chime in. But so from what I remember, he would go up and over the hill, and she appeared to him. And I'm going to give the short version, but she appeared to him, and she wanted him to go to the Catholic Church and to the priest and tell them that she needed a temple built there on Tepeyac, on the top of the hill of Tepeyac. So I guess in one of those, he tried to go around the other side so she wouldn't catch him, so she wouldn't see him, I guess. And there she was again. And then he had this like a how do I call it? Almost like a tied up sheet, a piece of cloth that was tied to him, and that's where they would carry some of their whatever they were picking, right? So she put some of the roses there. She said, pick those roses and take them to the church, and go and talk to the high priest again, and tell them I need this church built here, so people can come in and pray and ask for whatever their needs are. So he did. He put all the roses, and he rolled it up, and he went to the church. And when he told them, because they kept dismissing him, actually he did go, and they would dismiss him. And then when he went back that third time, I believe, then he said, and she sends you this, and he let the roses, out of that piece of cloth that he had tied to his shoulders. Her image was on the mantle. It was on him. So then they realized that was a miracle, and they then built the church of La Virgen de Guadalupe there on Tepeyac. A lot of people in Mexico and Latin America, for that matter, they do honor her that day, the 12th. I have not had the opportunity to be in Mexico City that day, but I've watched it on TV many times, and some of Mexico's icons, singers, performers, they go and they sing there to her. It's very emotional. Even on TV, I'm even crying on TV just because it's very spiritual. We sing las mañanitas to La Virgen, and it's just a very touching. Even here, that's the story, but we can go in later of how I've celebrated with family here.
Yeah, it's a very wonderful story, and like I said, I don't remember a time when there wasn't that picture of her in my home as a child. And just my mother and our family, everybody talked about her like she was an extended part of our family. So whenever anything was happening, you prayed to to La Virgen, and just a huge part of our Latin culture and our Latin heritage. And I know myself, that's where for listeners, I have a bench in my home that has this image of her, and I know that we're going to put that in the chat room in a moment, but it's this beautiful bench that was made in Mexico with her image, and I bought it on my birthday maybe 10 years ago, and I just had it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just put it in my living room because I thought it was gorgeous, and at one point I just heard you need to put names on it, and so now it's grown, and it's turned into a prayer bench, and it has all kinds of people's names on it, and strangers and people that I know. But there's something very special about her,
Yes.
Our Lady of Guadalupe. And having this opportunity to talk about her on our show, and I know we did a show about this last year, but it's just a huge part of me and of us. So I'm like, we have to do it again,
Yeah.
Eva. So
Yes, it is. And I don't. I'll have to think. Also, you said you always have an image of her. I do too. If there's not, a tiny one, I think that there's very few households, Mexican households that I have gone into with my family that will not have some type of image of her, maybe a small picture, or some have a huge painting framed, and it's just she becomes part of your family.
yes, and I know that we're going to have a special guest call in later and give us more details about her image, so we can go from there. But I think for our listeners, we have Liliana in the chat room is talking about how she has gotten to go to Mexico City and been there, and there's millions of people that come to the church, and I think that's amazing that she's gotten to go. I, like you, Eva, have never been there on her feast day. I have I visited her basilica in Mexico City, and I've also climbed up to the original little church that was built for her, and it is very spiritual. Yes, it is. It's a very special place. So
yes, I've had that opportunity too, and it's just because there's the original one is the one at the top on Tepeyac, and then at the bottom there's two, and then there's two older ones. Well, the top one is the oldest, and then there's two at the bottom, and then the round basilica. But the area around there's just big, and it's beautiful. It's spiritual, whether you're Catholic or not. It's a special place. And then we can get all into the food in the mercado right down the street. Is a whole different experience.
Well, yes, absolutely. And the celebration for our feast, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just wanted to also share that, it's having her photo around and just growing up with her all around me, I think is a big part of, whenever anything was wrong, my mom would be like, she'll take care of us, it'll all be okay. And it was always, and so it wasn't so much anybody else. And also, although I was raised Catholic, but it was always like, she was the queen of our house, very much so.
Yes. Yeah. And this day you bring roses, or the day of yesterday, the 12th of December, you bring roses to her. And there's other people that just continuously have roses year round for her. If it's just one rose or a dozen roses there, if they have a image of her there at their home.
Yes. And before we talk about her feast day, should we talk a little bit about posadas that people make to her? I think that's amazing.
I'm sorry.
The posadas that people make to her, like in Mexico.
Oh, yes. The manda, we call it mandas.
Mandas, yeah. But
I think that's probably the Portuguese way to say, right?
Yes, I probably did.
Probably.
Switch back.
Yeah, so a manda is, so it's a promise that you promise whatever it's in your heart, that you could say, I promise Virgen de Guadalupe that I will pray the rosary for the next month every single day. But please, I need you to guide me through this. I'm going through this difficult time, or the health of this person, or whatever it is that you need guidance in. And Amanda could be from praying or walk or doing a pilgrimage, which that's the other thing I have done here in the San Francisco, going from one church in San Francisco or South San Francisco, walking, I believe it's like 17 or 19 miles to the cathedral in San Francisco. I've done that, and it's just also very touching and very spiritual as well.
Well, and I was referring to, that's really nice that you do that, but also when you go to the churches in Mexico and seeing sometimes people just on their knees praying because they have made a manda. Sometimes I've seen them, get to the front of the altar because it's a tile. A lot of the churches are tile and their knees may be bleeding, but they're continuing to pray. And, throughout the countryside, I'm just amazed at all the altars to her. You'll be driving down a road and they're on the side of the road next to the tree. Somebody will have, put up an altar to La Virgencita. And it's a beautiful thing. So it's just a very big part of our culture. And so I wanted to honor her. Yesterday, because such a big part of my life has been wanting to live next to the beach. So I went to the beach yesterday morning before work and watched the sunrise and took her candle, and it was just wonderful.
That picture you posted was beautiful. Just beautiful, yeah.
It's very magical being there, and I was joined by these two birds that just kept talking. I don't know if there was a lot to say, but it was very magical. And now, because it is a celebration, it is a feast day, it's like, gosh, like we make every kind of food for this thing, right? I mean, it's everything.
Right.
It's tacos,
right.
Tamales, it's pozole.
It is. Pan dulce with con chocolate, hot chocolate, Mexican hot chocolate, early in the morning. And that's the other thing that I was gonna mention to you is, so here because I'm not in a condition these days to get myself to certain places. I'm not extremely mobile, but usually when I'm in better health, I'm able to go to Las Mañanitas, which that's done in the morning. It's really serenading someone for their birthday, and that's very customary in Mexico to do that, to bring music, live music, usually mariachi, to someone's house at the crack of dawn and sing Las Mañanitas, like the happy birthday song, but the Mexican happy birthday song. So yesterday at many churches around the area, they celebrate at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, and they'll have Las Mañanitas, they'll have a live banda, or they'll have mariachi, and just sing all these beautiful church songs with music, and mass. The Catholic mass will also be celebrated, and some churches even do the reenactment of the Juan Diego and the apparition. Am I saying it right?
Yes,
I only know the Spanish way to say it. Yes, when La Virgen de Guadalupe appeared to Juan Diego in there on Tepeyac, they will do the reenactment, which is, they worked a long time, for months, to prepare for that. Many people from the different parishes, which is just beautiful. And then after the celebration, they're usually there in the church hall. There's chocolatito, hot chocolate with maybe cinnamon tea and Mexican sweetbread. And if we're lucky, there'll be tamales.
Oh yeah, tamales, of course. Of course. Yeah. Because this is, I mean, I don't know. It's tamale time, right? In our culture, like right now in the month of December, you could probably make up a reason to have a tamale every day, right?
Every day. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And definitely the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe is like big time. Like I said earlier, I've been to a few, and it is just kind of like all our best food is laid out, and that's the purpose, right? Is to honor her. So people do make their best dishes. So
Right.
if you have the opportunity and you're listening, it's a very spiritual event to participate in, but you will be rewarded with just really yummy, delicious food. Like there's just
Yeah.
so
Just go for the food. No, just kidding. Now, the spiritual experience, no matter what your belief is, it really is amazing. It really is. You can feel it. You can feel the love everyone has. Like you said, Prima, there's people that will go on their knees just as a feeling of sacrifice for being so grateful for the blessings of their life. So whatever the need of the person is, to show their love and respect.
Yes. So because it's December and because it's tamale, pozole, enchilada, taco, buñuelos,
Gosh, I'm getting hungry now.
right? It's just time. It's just time to put on your stretchy pants and not worry about it and enjoy, right?
Yeah, I think I have some maternity pants still tucked away for the smoke.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, and so on my YouTube channel, there is my mama's molé recipe from scratch. It is a little bit cumbersome. It's mole rojo, but you make that too, Prima, the mole rojo. And it's spicy. It's really good. A lot of people use it when they make tamales. That's what goes in there. So if you want to try some mole, I think my mom's recipe is the bomb. But, we're all partial to our mama's mole, right, Prima?
Yes, but is this the crunchy mole?
Well, no. The one on the website or the YouTube channel, sorry, is the mole rojo, which is the base for the chicken mole. But no, I haven't put my pork crunchy mole on there yet.
That's my favorite.
It's my mother's too, and it's so hard to make. It's just really, I have to figure out how to do a video of that because that is like an all day thing. I have to figure out how to shorten.
Well, sounds like I'm going to be spending all day with you soon then, so we could do it.
I make crunchy pork mole. Oh, I know. It's so good.
Yes.
So if you've never had crunchy pork mole, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the mole rojo, it's a spicy mole. And then we take like a pork loin, cut it up in tiny little pieces. We fry it in lard so it stays nice and crunchy, and then you add it to the mole. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I love it so much.
Yeah. And then the stock of the mole, and this is the secret of the yummy stock. And I know bone stock and bone broth is a big deal right now, but my mom was doing this years ago. Is the stock has pig's feet in it, and that gives it that amazing flavor. So I know, Eva, when we did that Virgin dinner, the Virgin Sports dinner, and all those people were eating it up, the yoga instructors and the marathon runners.
Yeah.
And you're like, Prima, this tastes so different. What's in this? And I was like, I got to tell you later. I can't tell you while we're in here.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, it was delicious.
Yeah. Thank you. It's my mom's recipe. I love it. Okay. And then we have to talk about pozole. So also, it's December. Time to have pozole, right, Prima?
It's time to have pozole also. It's a little bit colder at this time of year, so it's definitely a comfort food. And we had it on Halloween Day at your house. It was really good. And I told you that I'm not a big pozole fan. And yours is delicious. delicious. So I did have my serving and took some to go. But I think it's just that thing that I'm not too big into soups for whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but I'm not. Soups are not my choice, but yeah, it's nice to have pozole. And if I do choose a soup, it's usually menudo. I know people say, "Oh, tripe soup, that's disgusting," but yeah, I like it. That would be I would choose that one. But pozole is definitely a hearty comfort food and perfect for this time of year.
Well, and Prima, I think you don't like soup because you prefer tequila if you're going to sip on something or any kind of liquid. So, come on, let's just be real.
Maybe, yeah. I need to make it put my tequila in a bowl and drink it with a spoon, huh?
I'm sure if I came up with a recipe for tequila soup, you would love it. So.
Yeah, if anybody is out there that's listening that knows a good tequila soup recipe, yeah, I'd be willing to try it.
Yeah, so my mom's pozole recipe is also on the YouTube channel, so if you guys want to try and make that, but that is also very traditional. Oftentimes we have that on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. I made it on Halloween, but it is definitely, like Eva said, very hearty. So it's spicy red soup, basically with hominy and pork. You can make it with chicken, but it is a very traditional Mexican dish that I love too. I'm not a big fan of menudo, Prima, because it's basically the same thing as pozole, but it just has tripe.
Yeah, I know you're not.
I don't eat it. It's just my favorite. I don't know, but I will eat it. And because it's December, why not tacos, right? Crunchy tacos.
Oh, tacos is a year-round thing.
I know it's a year-round thing, but if you're going to celebrate or have a little get-together, oh my gosh, make them crunchy tacos. I was talking to somebody recently that just married somebody that was Latino, and I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to make him crunchy tacos. Your life will be different.
Exactly. Right. It's just that, I don't know, for me, satisfying to just crunch into something. I told you yesterday I went to a restaurant, a taqueria. I was going to have a taco, but then I saw the chile verde on the menu. But then I looked to the other side, I see tacos dorados, and I was like, oh, I ordered chile verde because I thought I was cheating on my favorite tacos dorados. Is that terrible? And I have to go back and get tacos dorados, crunchy tacos, in other words. I don't know. What am I going to do?
No, December is the time. I made chimichangas this weekend. I made the chorizo chimichangas, and we were invited to a little get together, one of our new neighbors, and I took him down there, and people, what are these? I was like, they're chimichangas.
Oh.
What's a chimichanga? So then it's a fried flour tortilla stuffed with potatoes and spicy Mexican sausage and cheese. And they're like,
wow.
Oh, no wonder this is so good.
Oh. And then, of course, we have the buñuelos.
Yes, but I guess I found out that I just make them the lazy way with tortillas and sugar and cinnamon. But recently I found out there's like a whole other recipe for that, which my mother always made them that way. I didn't even know that. Did you know that?
Yeah, you have it looks like a snowflake, and it's an iron tool. And you make it's almost like a crepe batter, like a thin crepe batter, and then you have the hot oil because you'll fry these. So then you dip that tool. It's a long stick. Oh geez, I don't even think I have a picture of it. It's a long it's a long handle, and then the snowflake pattern is at the base of that. So dip that in oil, and then dip it in the batter, and then put it back in the oil, and it just releases, and it puffs up beautifully, and it looks like these beautiful snowflakes. And then you take it out, and then you sprinkle it with powdered sugar. They're just beautiful, and there's different patterns. They're beautiful. Those are the buñuelos that I'm kind of used to, that they would make in Mexico when we'd go spend Christmas at my aunt's house.
Okay, so maybe the ones I grew up eating and the only ones I knew ever existed were California style. My mom used to make old flour tortillas that she would fry in oil and then put them in sugar and cinnamon, and I loved them. So I think they're yummy.
And that's a different. I see a lot of people do it like that too. Yeah, so there's different, different types.
Say that's not the real Mexican way. I heard it. You didn't say it, but I heard it.
Who said? Did I say that?
No, you thought it. I could feel it. So, but it's okay. It's okay, Prima. That's all right.
Yeah. So, well, no, if you Google buñuelos, there's different styles. Styles, and then churros, of course.
Oh my goodness, churros.
You know, we still have to get we just need to hire someone to stand outside making churros again.
We do. We need to have a party and hire our own person. I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. You know, when we were talking about tamales, we kind of went really quickly over it, but one of the, I think, most lovely thing about making homemade tamales is just the being with other people in your family or friends, because it takes an army to make tamales because they're so hard to make.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the best parts about tamale making is just bringing people together. And
it is. It's the bonding of it. Yeah.
And the connection. And I know that was like one of the fondest, not fondest, but fun memories, making tamales with my mom. And then I made them with Tia Hoovy a couple of years ago, and that was really fun. But it's just that connection that you have, and putting your hands in masa and spreading it on olas. And there is just something that I think that has a deep connection with the people around you, and because it does.
Right.
There is a whole method to making it, and different people have different jobs, but yet you have to work together. And so I think it's fantastic.
And then you're doing it wrong. Look, this is how you have to do it correctly. And, all that good stuff. Back and forth.
Oh, yes. I know my mama, who with her quality control, sitting at the end of the table, even with her oxygen tank near the end, making sure that they're all done perfectly and sending them back when they weren't. So, yeah. Definitely quality control. But Prima, you're a pro. You make really good tamales. And you make them, like, watching you make a tamale, like putting the masa and the ola and how you spread it out and then you just stuff it in. It's like watching the Energizer Bunny, like on, I don't know, like you've speeded it up and it's just, it's like, what did you just do?
And as long as there's good music going, I could go faster.
It is easy to watch you. The last time we did it, I was just like, what is she doing? You're so tiny. And there you go.
Oh God,
it's really not as
fun. It's it does it brings me back to my childhood and being with my aunts and my great aunt and just watching them and learning from them and having that bond of just loving being together and loving the process and loving everybody, enjoying eating them, and just it brings everything together.
Yeah, it really is a magical experience. So for anybody listening, if you've ever considered it, just try it. It's really fun. And you know what? If they're not perfect, that's okay. You can buy them everywhere, but it's the process. The process is really great. And the more you make them, the better it's going to get. I've yet to make them on my own because I'm afraid. So I will only do it with others.
Oh, you could do it. You could do it. You could do it. I'll come over and watch you make them. How's that? Then you'll make them on your own.
No. You're going to come over and you're going to help me make them. You're not going to watch. I know that you're like.
Well, we could also talk about the ones that are that I think there's a picture in the chat room, and those are the ones that my daughter made, the pumpkin and chorizo tamales, which she's right here with me now, Giselle.
She is.
She could talk about those tamales, and she's also can explain what we were talking about, La Virgen de Guadalupe. So should we transition over to that?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Giselle. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And we have a picture of your yummy chorizo and pumpkin tamales that you made last year.
Like 2 years ago, I think.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yep.
Oh, no. We have to make them again. Those things are the bomb.
Yeah.
They're really good. Chorizo and pumpkin. I don't remember. How did you come up with that recipe again? I know you love pumpkin.
Yeah, you had me on your show to talk about my love of pumpkin, so I did pumpkin everything.
That's so awesome.
Pumpkin smoothies, pumpkin pancakes, pumpkin hummus. What else did I do? Pumpkin bread. What else? Pumpkin bar. And then I was like, I know that there's a Mexican pumpkin dulce. So I was just researching that because I never made it. But then I just put Mexican pumpkin recipes. And then I saw pumpkin and chorizo tamales online. And I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. So I just made them on my own. I didn't follow that recipe because I never follow recipes ever. So I made my own masa because my grandma taught me how to make my own masa with butter instead of lard. So I make my own masa, and then I just sauteed pumpkin, just regular pumpkins. So they weren't any special kind or fancy pumpkins. I just cubed them, sauteed them with onions and chorizo. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to put some queso fresco in there. So I did. And it worked because it was it kind of helped to add another layer of yeah, I don't know what it did really exactly, but it was good. It was it was a different texture and a different.
They were so good. Oh, they were so good.
Oh yeah.
Delicious. Okay, so
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And do you want to share? I know that you have a lot more information about La Virgen de Guadalupe, and we would love for you to share your knowledge of her with our listeners.
So, did you all talk about the story?
We did. We did talk about that, but we didn't go into a lot of the detail about her clothing and the image and the Aztecs and all that stuff. We didn't mention that.
So, the story of Juan Diego is basically when La Virgen de Guadalupe, I guess, was born. She was Christianized. So that means that before La Virgen de Guadalupe, there was an Aztec goddess, and her name, she still exists. I mean, I believe in her, and I know a lot of people believe in her too. Her name is Tonantzin, and she's an Aztec goddess of the moon and the earth, the sun and the moon, and the earth. So essentially, she's Mother Earth. That's the way that I have come to know her. She's also in other cultures, like in Egyptian culture, she's the goddess of the moon. I can't remember her name, but her the Egyptian goddess of the sun is Ra. So his I guess his wife or his partner is the goddess of the moon. And in indigenous cultures, the moon is actually a female. It's a female deity because the moon is the cycle of a month, and it is associated to a woman's cycle, a woman's monthly cycle. So if you pay attention to indigenous cultures, and I'm not talking about just indigenous cultures in the Americas, I'm talking about indigenous cultures all over the world for tens of thousands of years. Like, you go back to Egypt, you go to the Ottoman Empire, you go back to all of those. The goddesses are always associated with the moon, and that has to do with the women's monthly cycle, and which lasts about 30 days and on average. And so I learned this when I was about 18, 19 years old. And to me, my upbringing in Catholicism has always been like a dual. I've always had like a dual upbringing. I've struggled with wholeheartedly believing everything in Catholicism. And so when I started to learn about all of these indigenous cultures that especially came from Mexico, or where my family is from, I just felt like such a strong connection to it that I have embraced the indigenous side of my ancestors a lot more than anyone in my family. And so that's just what I follow. I've learned that the winter solstice is actually to celebrate Tonantzin, or the goddess of the moon. Then that's actually what the winter solstice actually celebrates. And so, which is technically like in December 20th or December 21st, that's the winter solstice. And so traditionally, she's always been celebrated on that day. But then Catholicism and Christianity came to the Western world, and the story of Juan Diego came about, and then that's when she was Christianized and became a saint, or not a saint, she became the Virgin of Guadalupe, the Virgen de Guadalupe. And I don't know if anybody's ever really noticed that she is a dark-skinned Virgen. All of the other ones are white-skinned. She's actually dark-skinned. That's where it comes from, because she's actually an Aztec goddess. Or, I mean, in this part of the Western world, she was an Aztec goddess. And before that, I'm pretty sure she was an Olmeca goddess. And I'm pretty sure she has a different name in the Mayan culture. And in the Egyptian culture, it's Sekhmet, something like that.
Well, and I was looking, there's something that I was reading about Hermantel, that it's stars and it's a constellation system, and that if you look at it closely, it's actually the way the stars are arranged. That would have been the arrangement of the time that she appeared.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually haven't heard about that too. I haven't heard about that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, so there's some interesting, and that she's standing on the moon and the serpent. So there is definitely ties in with the Aztecs. It's very interesting. So I'm delighted that you shared that with our listeners, because I think a lot of our traditions and a lot of what we believe started someplace else. And it's like almost like this.
Yeah. someone commented on my post, like, I guess kind of like in an upset or frustrated tone, saying something along the lines of like, see, why can't we learn these things? How come we don't learn these things? How come we only learn one version of it? And so my response to that is that, the dominant cultures always do their best to share what they want to share or impose on the majority of society. And they do a very good job of stopping or closing, or they literally like burned and killed off cultures. That's why a lot of it is not passed on. Because, when I went to Yucatan, the Yucatan Peninsula, I went there 6 years ago. I went to visit towns I went to visit sites where they actually they told the story of when they told all the kids, and it was a church. They told all the kids, hey, go tell your parents to come. We're going to have a big party. Go tell your parents to come on this day at this time. We're going to have a big party. We're inviting the whole community. And they did. And then they burned everyone in it. Everyone. The whole community. They killed them. And all of their everything, their belongings. So they literally were killed off. And this is not something new. This has been happening for hundreds of thousands of years, where dominant cultures come in and colonize and destroy people and their cultures and any evidence of it. But in Mexico, there still really is a lot of evidence of cultures that there are cultures that still exist, that have existed 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. They still live the same way, but we don't know of them. And also, most people don't know of them, but also there are a lot of sites of evidence where people lived a certain way there too. I know I got a little off track, but I think it's all full circle. It all has to do with the way that we live our lives today. And so like, I celebrate La Virgen de Guadalupe because that's how I became to know her. But then she somehow introduced me to her other self, which is Tonantzin, and I celebrate her too. And I've always had a strong connection to the Mother Earth, and that's always how I feel.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with everyone. So I think it's interesting to hear other people's perspectives and what you believe. So that's great. So thank you for sharing that. And I can't believe that we're basically out of time. This has flown by. So Eva, thank you. Giselle, thank you so much. I want to thank our listeners, and just very quickly, because it's the holidays, please be kind to yourselves. Don't make it about being the perfect holiday. Make it about being present, being gentle with yourselves, and enjoying just whoever's in your life, not the people that aren't there, just whoever is with you. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Enjoy your week. I want to thank Brittany, our amazing producer. Please add love to every recipe you make. And as my mama always said to me as we said our goodbyes, que Dios te bendiga, may God bless you. Soul to Soul with Nancy Newman is up next, so please stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to Molé Mama. Have a wonderful evening and a great weekend.
Thank you for tuning in to Molé Mama. Remember to add love to every recipe you make. It is your secret ingredient. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and check out our YouTube channel and make those yummy recipes for your loved ones and connect and have fun and enjoy. Que Dios te bendiga. May God bless you.